What's going on, guys? MariK here, back with episode 12 of our History of the Dragon Ball Super card game mini-series. Last episode, we finished up the Miraculous Revival set, and this time around, we're doing Theme Set 3, Clash of Fates. This was one of my favorite sets, just because, well, I'll be honest, we got more Bardock support. That's really it. There was a lot of cool stuff in the set, though, and I have played with a lot of it since then, but just getting another chance to play more Bardock stuff was my favorite. This set actually had a lot of stuff. Again, it was another set where people were like, nothing's really going to, have an impact on the game. And then turn around and some stuff did. Maybe not as much as the World Martial Arts Tournament, but there was some good stuff in this set that did find a place in the competitive environment, at least for a little bit. And there's some stuff that I feel could honestly be competitive if you just got a little bit of the push it needs. Starting off with red, we had new Frieza support. This is the first time that Frieza actually got any support outside of its own color of yellow. We're not going to even mention or think about or even acknowledge the one black weird-ass Frieza that nobody ever played and was a complete garbage card. We're just going to pretend that one didn't happen. Up to this point, the Frieza archetype was all yellow, and then this time around, it was red. The new Frieza leader, Metamorphic Threat, actually has some decent abilities to this card. On the front side, you got to look at the top two and add a red Frieza's army from your deck to your hand, and then put the rest in the bottom in any order. That was getting to look at the top two really kind of sucks. I like how cards like Toei, for example, get to look at top 5. It actually gives you a chance to get a card instead of whiffing way too many times. On the Awakened side, he had a Senzu Bean kind of effect, similar to that of the Soul Unleashed Son Goku from Union Force. However, the cost to do so was a little bit higher. You had to choose a battle card and KO it, then you had to choose a red card in your hand and place it in the drop area, and you gain the 5,000 power to the end of your opponent's next turn. So while it's kind of a break-even, really, because if you do it on your turn, you'd have to discard a card with the Goku. If you did it on your opponent's next turn, you would have to discard a card again. The Frieza makes you have to KO a battle card and discard, and it works for both turns, so the outcome is the same. So really, it's not like you lose any extra card advantage one way or the other. And this also gave us another Frieza's army leader. So it was another leader that could play Cold Bloodlust. And, that was one of the most abusable counterplay cards in the game. Now, of course, we don't really get to do that, so it doesn't really matter as much. But a lot of people just ran this as a mono red deck to go with the rest of the theme. One of my favorite things about this set was that we got a new swap mechanic, similar to that of the Goku's lineage that we got in Colossal Warfare. Yes, I loved swap. However, don't hate me, I played legitimate lineage. I didn't play the blue-yellow crap everybody else played. This one kind of feels like, obviously since it was much more linear, because there was only one option for each swap, but it almost felt like it was better as well. Because the first one, you played it, you get to swap for no energy, you swap into the second Frieza, and his only ability is that he loses 5,000 power during your opponent's turn. And then for 1 red, you swap into the 3-drop, who has Barrier, and comes out and KOs a battle card 20,000 power. Unfortunately, I didn't get around Barrier, but it was a really cool, chain that you could play early on for very little energy, and then the 3-drop had the Barrier to protect himself so that you could go into the 5-drop, which was the final chain of the Frieza swap engine. Final Showdown Frieza is one of the best cards from the set. He's got built-in Double Strike and Critical, which is already just ridiculous when you combine the two of them. And then he's got the Activate Main, or the auto of once per turn. When your opponent declares a battle card, you can activate this ability. If your leader card is a red Frieza, you choose a card from your life, place in the drop, and negate the skills of that card for the duration of the turn. This allows you to almost have like a built-in bloodlust. So essentially, you got to play 8 bloodlusts if you ran 4 of these and the original bloodlust. I personally prefer to play the deck with a different leader. I don't really run the Red Frieza leader. I have my own little gimmicky hybrid deck built. But this card really it's just a great card all around. It puts in a lot of work, and to be able to play him for all of 3 energy, 4 energy I suppose, is absolutely wild. Not to mention, again, double strike crit. Puts in so much work against your opponent. Then we also had the Emperor's right hand and left hand. You had Dodoria and Zarbon. The Zarbon was much better, and I think Zarbon was the number 2. Really, I think Zarbon, get it, the number 2. He was the shit. No, but for real, I think Zarbon was Frieza's number 2. He only got threatened like maybe once. Whereas I feel like Dodoria was definitely number 3 as far as that chain of command goes, and was much more expendable than Zarbon was. Though Frieza didn't really need them, he was just lazy. Like, Frieza didn't need any henchmen. He didn't need to have Dodoria and Zarbon as his, right and left hands. But, that's not here nor there. The Dodoria card was okay. He was a blocker. When he was KO'd, you got to choose a red Frieza army, or a red Frieza card with 2 or less from your hand and play it. Not really a big deal. The Zarbon, on the other hand, when he was KO'd, you get to draw a card, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards and minus 15k for the end of the turn. And a lot of times that could result in a KO. That would also allow you to have that battle card to KO it for Metamorphic's Awakened ability to give him that Senzu Bean boost. So the Zarbon worked really well in the deck. Then we got new support for the Ginyu Force, although it didn't really work well with the yellow support that we got all the way back in set 1. This kind of was made to focus specifically on itself, and maybe to be ran with the Red Frieza swap engine. Goldo, Birder, and Raccoon were all 2-drop 10Ks with different abilities. Goldo had Barrier, Birder had Critical, and Raccoon had Double Strike. And when you played one of them from your hand, if all your battle cards were red, you got to look at up to 5 cards from top of your deck, choose a Ginyu Force with an energy cost 2 or less, and play it. So they could play off of each other, but you had to have only red cards. I tried to run like a red-yellow Ginyu Force deck. It kind of worked here and there. Just because you can combo off the yellow cards. However, yellow Birder and yellow Jace, and even yellow Raccoon, really just aren't that great. The yellow Goldo is okay because not only is he a blocker, but it lets you put one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode so that you can kill it. And then, of course, we had the yellow Ginyu that lets you play as many Ginyu Force from your hand. Now, granted, if you dropped all of these guys with that Ginyu, you wouldn't be able to trigger their abilities because Ginyu is yellow, and you'd have to combo him away immediately before you could actually do anything else. But it worked alright. It was one of those things where you would pretty much just do it to be able to just drop your hand and hopefully be able to swarm for game. My strategy was to use the Golden Frieza leader. You would hardcast the promo Reliable Captain Ginyu, drop every battle card, every one of those Ginyu Force, and then tribute him off for Frieza's leader ability, restand 2 of your energy, then play the red Ginyu, give all of your dudes the power boost, and then just swing away with everything you've got. Then we had the Captain of the Ginyu Force, Body Change Ginyu. This was one of the best cards to come out of this set, and I was really banking on pulling one of the SPRs. I did not, unfortunately, and I really would have liked to, because I think it's a great SPR. I kind of wish they would have left the change similar to the way it is in this picture, actually. The purple and black looks a lot better than it would have with the gold. But fantastic card. You get to give all your Ginyu Force, including himself, that power boost. And then you get to place him in the drop area. Play him in your opponent's battle area. Steal one of their battle cards. 20,000 or less. Other than, of course, Reliable Captain Ginyu, or Body Change Ginyu. You also got to switch to active mode. So you got to attack with it that turn as well. And then you just hand them this 15k vanilla beat stick. Which, they're still getting something out of it, but hopefully you're taking one of their best support cards and completely screwing up their strategy. Being a theme booster, there wasn't a lot of red support, definitely not anything generic. You had the paralysis technique, which minus your opponent's leader and all their battle cards by 5,000 power, but that doesn't really do a whole lot. And you had to have a red freezes army leader, so there could only be 2. And then you had the spaceship, which was kind of okay. It was a field card. You played it for 2, which unfortunately you got nothing out of playing it. But then at the end of your turn, you choose a red Frieza army with energy cost 2 or less and play it. I mean, again, it felt like a card that seemed kind of cool, but didn't really do as much as expected. Didn't live up to the expectations. And then you had the Raccoon Fighter Bomber extra card that basically said if you had a Raccoon in play, you got to choose a battle card, ignoring barrier, and give it minus 15,000 power. Not a terrible card. So 1 cost to be able to get rid of some of your opponent's weaker battle cards, but again, it definitely wasn't really that useful. I think I may have ran 2 in my red Ginyu deck, but you just aren't going to see it that much. Up next, we had, of course, my favorite, Blue. You know him. He's Bardock and the Bardock crew. I was so happy when this set got announced. If you guys remember way back when I did the reveal videos for this, and we got Blue, and it was Bardock crew, oh my, I was just in love. I have still my Bardock crew deck put together. It is mostly foiled out. I got the SPR Bardocks immediately when the set released, and I think I got 3 of the armbands too, but I only really run 3 now, thanks to Unyielding Trunks being at 1 and that throwing off my ratios a lot. But otherwise, I love this deck. It's just so fun to play. Unfortunately, the leader got screwed over with Set 5 Syndrome. He had Auto Burst 2, draw a card, gain 5,000. Really just, again, a shitty ability, and hopefully Bandai strays away from having these generically idiotic leader abilities. On the Awakened side, though, he was pretty dope. He had Sparking 5 when he attacked, draw a card, give him 5,000 power. That's also kind of generic compared to the other leaders. But when this card is attacked, if there's a Bardock crew in your drop area, you got to choose a card from your life, put it in your drop area, and negate the attack. So it gave you extra negates, no energy cost. You just take a card from your life. So once you got to 4 life, you really wanted to protect those cards. That way you had them to pitch for the leader's negate ability. And I remember running this. I ran it blue-yellow because I ran some of the Great Apes in it, because you could play them off of the 1-drop Toras and the 1-drop Fashas. And not that you're going to play the Bardock ones, because obviously the focus of the deck is the Final Strike Bardock, but just some kind of cool gimmicky Great Ape stuff that you could do with this deck. We start off with the 1-drop Fasha, 1-drop Tora, and we got a 1-drop Borgos who hates energy manipulation. When you play him, you get to draw a card once per turn during your opponent's turn. If your opponent switches their energy to active mode using a non-awakened skill, you have to choose one of their energy and put it in the drop. Pretty decent ability, but it's like strictly blue hate almost, as most cards outside of blue don't switch energy back to active mode. However, luckily he doesn't have barrier or anything like that, so he's very easy to kill to get around. Then we got the 1-drop Fasha that lets you look at the top 5 cards of the deck when you play her and add a Bardock's crew to your hand. and the one-drop Tora that lets you choose a Bardock's crew from your drop area and add it to your hand. Obviously, the Fasha is a little bit more important, but the Tora isn't bad either, especially if you just want to play some extra shit and get some cards back. Then we have the 3-drop Tora, the 3-drop Fasha, and our new thick boy Shugesh. This Shugesh is similar to, it's basically a blue version of the BCC Gohan, and then the yellow Bardock we got with the Goku Lineage deck. Now you get to draw a card, and if you did not draw a card, he gets double strike. Never really found a use for him. Unfortunately, blue, I feel like blue decks the most are so pressed for space, and it's a shame because I did actually pull a foil from my boxes. Now with the Fasha and the Tora, if you have a Bardock crew in your drop area, you get to reduce the energy cost by 1. So they were both 2 drops. The Fasha had crit, and you got to place her in the drop area, and you can choose a Bardock crew in your battle area and switch it back to active mode. Then the Tora, on the other hand, the Tora is what really got things going. He had barrier, and for 3 blue energy, you place him in the drop area and choose a Final Strike Bardock from your deck or drop area and play it. And that's kind of what got the ball rolling. So ideally you wanted to play the Tora, keep it alive till you had the energy, play the Bardock with the ability. And Bardock was the sole focus of this deck, is getting out the Bardock. I don't really know if I would say for its ability, but all the extra support for it, including Fasha's support, Fasha's ability to switch him back to active mode, you really had to get out of that Bardock as soon as possible. Then we had the star of the show himself, Final Strike Bardock. This card, especially the SPR, has just some of the best art on it. The SPR is phenomenal. Could we do without the Here Have It? Perhaps. But I still absolutely love the art on this card. He's got barrier, so he's not going to be targeted by any of your opponent's effects, except for the ones that ignore barrier, of course. And unfortunately, there can only be one Final Strike Bardock. I feel like that's a really shitty, permanent to kind of limit him, since you can do some stuff with him, but not enough to really abuse that ability. When this card is switched to rest mode to active mode, if your leader is Bardock's crew, your opponent has to choose a card in their hand and place it at the bottom of their deck. So it does not fuel their drop area for Overwhelm or for any other abilities that they might use. It goes to the bottom of the deck, which is nice. I would prefer he would have had critical as well, just so that when you attacked with him, it felt like you were actually getting somewhere. Because if you make your opponent drop a card, then you attack them and deal damage, then they get a card back, well, then, nothing's really changed except they're down 1 life. And there are cards in the deck, there are support cards that really add to the value of this card once you've played it. Again, this was one of the most fun decks I had played in a long time, and I absolutely love the blue Bardock crew deck. Tora's red armband was actually the first non-super rare SPR card that we got in the game. It was the first rare, and also the first extra card to get an SPR as well. Now, the thing that bugs me about this card is the art. It kills me. Tora is, he's got some scratches here and there, but in this scene, Tora's armor is destroyed. Battered and beaten. He's covered in blood. Okay, maybe they covered up, they cleaned up the blood a little bit for appearances, whatever. Fine and dandy. But the fact that that he's just sitting there, barely looks like he's maybe been slapped once or twice, and there's no scratches or anything on his armor, it just really irritates me that they did that. But design aspect aside, this card is crazy. So it's a 4-cost extra card. If your leader is a Bardock's crew, you gotta choose a Tora in your drop area and send it to your warp. Then you draw 4 cards. 4 cards. Choose a Bardock in your battle area, switch to active mode, so your opponent's gonna discard a card again, and it gets plus 10,000 and double strike for the duration of the turn. Then at the end of the turn, you got to choose an energy and switch it back to active mode. That's all kinds of insane. So, I love the card. And when you actually get to play it and get the combo off, it's just ridiculous because you're already going to get the discard at the beginning of your turn when you switch it to active mode, and then if you were lucky enough to have a Fasha on board, when you switch to active mode again, and then Tora's Red Armband. It's a really awesome card. Getting to draw 4 cards is insane enough, but then giving the Bardock 10,000 power and Double Strike just makes the value of this card in this deck so freaking high. We also got a lot of other support for the Bardock's Crew theme. The Jean, Mother of Hope. This card is just awesome. It's basically another super combo for either the battle card or for your leader, because she combos 5,000, but if you're comboing her on a blue Bardock, then you get an additional 5,000 power. Essentially, it's a free super combo. It's better than the +1s. I mean, granted, you draw a card there, but you can play her without having to have energy open. So it's a lot more flexible, and it's wild, and I love the card. I love having the extra protection both for the leader and for the Final Strike Bardock. Then you've got Tulo, who is your super combo for blue for this set. I don't use him. I personally use the Gohan, the Saiyaman from Miraculous Revival, Set 5. And because the Sparking, I like the Sparking. I just feel like Sparking is so much better. They're easily the best super combos we have. With the exception of like specific ones, like we got the Hellies or Android 16. We won't mention Shugesh. But in order to run one of the other cards, you have to run the Tulo. And so I haven't really toyed around with it too much. But for Future Punch, which does not look like a punch, you have to run the Tulo. This card says you get to choose a Tulo in your drop, place it at the bottom of your deck, so you get one of your super combos back, which is kind of cool. Then you choose all your blue Saiyan leader cards and battle cards, and they get 5,000 power and critical for the duration of the turn. At the end of the turn, you choose all Saiyan cards in your battle area, place them in the drop area. So, really shitty. It gives everything 5,000 power, which is kind of cool. It gives everything critical, which is kind of cool, but it forces you to use not the most optimal of super combos, and then on top of that, if you don't kill your opponent that turn, everything dies. So what I think is really shitty too is it says at the end of the battle choose all of the Saiyan cards in your battle area. So even if they weren't blue, they didn't get the boost, they didn't get the 5,000 power, they still die. So say I had the yellow Gene blocker from Crossworlds in the deck, which I do. I run it because it's free blocker, and you can play it anytime because you're just Bardock. I have her out. She's not getting the 5,000. She's not getting the critical. She's not even attacking. She's still going to die because of the way this card is worded. I think that's kind of stupid. I do want to toy around with this a little bit more, and perhaps I will, but what I would probably do is, I don't know if I would focus on having... I feel like this would be better as like a separate strategy than going with the Tora's Red Armband and going that route with Final Strike Bardock. This would probably be best in like running this with a bunch of the smaller guys. So like you've got the 3-drop Fasha, the 3-drop Tora, you got the Shugesh that draws and gets double strike. So which would be cool because you give him double strike crit with this card. But it just feels kind of like, I don't know, it feels like there's not enough room to have all of that in one deck. So it kind of feels like it's two different strategies. One is more about using your Final Strike Bardock to take control of the match and to end up whittling your opponent down, whereas the Future Punch kind of feels like going aggressive and just throwing everything at your opponent as quick as you possibly can. Then let's not forget about the new counterattack, which is Dream the Future. You get to negate the attack, and if your leader's a Bardock's Crew, you get to choose a blue card in your hand, place it in the drop area, and then you could add this card back to your hand. So, kind of replenishes your negates. Kind of gives me, well, I've had the idea for a while, but like a control, like a Bardock control deck, where you're not so much trying to go for the kill, but maybe you're using, you're using more defensive negates. You got this one that you can keep adding back. You've got Dimension Magic, Whis' Coercion if you choose to, and you're just kind of, the free blockers, you're just kind of trying to focus on whittling away your opponent with maybe with the Final Strike Bardock, or maybe you're going to play a control deck with the smaller guys and all these extra negates and just kind of peck them away to death. Green focuses around the Saiyan saga, and once again, I feel like Green was more kind of like a loosely defined strategy than it was an actual archetype. I mean, a lot of the cards did kind of go together, but at the same time, a lot of the cards didn't really fit in, and it didn't seem like you needed to constantly be, have this card or this card. Like, there didn't seem like there was as much support for this deck as there was for some of the others, like the Bardock's Crew or the Red Frieza engine. Then we had one of the coolest leaders, and probably my favorite of the Goku leaders. We had Son Goku, the legendary Super Saiyan. The art on this card is amazing. It looks even better foil. His front side was a little bit underwhelming. When he attacks, you could choose a card in your hand, place it in the drop area, draw 2 cards. I mean, it's okay. It's kind of deck thinning, kind of fuels your drop a little bit, but nothing too excited about. Then his Awakened side, when he attacks, you had to draw a card, and there's a Krillin in your drop area. He got plus 5,000 and double strike for the turn. That's super cool for a few reasons. So, with this leader, it's very easy to get double strike on him. Then, if you guys remember, we got the Feet Kamehameha extra card in the World Martial Arts Tournament set. All it specified was a green Goku leader. So, you slap that on with this leader, and you've got 35,000 double strike crit coming at your opponent. You do that consistently every turn, and you are easily going to gain the upper hand, if not outright win with that. Now, granted, I don't feel like the cards in this set really supported that. I feel like you would be better off doing something else, and then just using the leader and the extra card, the Feet Kamehameha, to push for, control and extra damage. And the leader, all it says is there just has to be a Krillin in your drop area, and we've got, quite a few Krillin cards now. You could run any of them in the deck. Honestly, I would say, if I was going to do something like that, I would run the 2-drop from the World Martial Arts Tournament Krillin that gets to come in, KO a 2-drop or less, ignoring barrier, and just use that. I mean, you've got the 1-drop blocker, but that's not really that big of a deal. The Krillin cards in the set are okay, but the point I was trying to make is how flexible this leader is, and the fact that you just need Krillin to trigger his ability, and for the rest of it, you could just run whatever the hell you want. Now, it just wouldn't be right if we didn't get any Gohan support to go along with a new Goku leader. We got Tenacious Spirit Son Goku. This is another of our very few super rare 1-drops. Also, our very first SPR 1-drop as well. And it's not a terrible card. When you play him, you get to draw a card, and then once returned for 2 green energy, he gains plus 15,000 and critical. So it becomes a 20k crit for 2 green. Is that worth it? I don't really know. I guess it depends on the way you want to look at it. It's not as easy to combo out of 20k crit as it is 15k crit. And he does get to draw a card, but the 1-drop green Gohan gets crit. He only gets 10,000, but that's still going to force your opponent to drop cards. And still going to get you cards. It's going to get you cards from your life, help you awaken. Whereas, like, this Gohan's cool and all, and he doesn't have to hurt you, but you kind of want to get to that awakened state to be able to take advantage of the leader's ability. Not to mention, so say turn 1, you play this Gohan. Turn 2, you use his ability. You're getting 1 crit damage in. You do the same thing with the green 1-drop Gohan that gets crit and 15. Turn 1, you play him, you crit. Turn 2, you, assuming he lives, you play another one, you crit 2 more. or he gets killed, you play a second one. You're still, it just, I don't know, energy-wise, it feels like this Gohan wasn't really worth it. Not to mention, I'm really kind of annoyed with the SPR. Like, I like the art on the Super Rare. The SPR is wrong for so many different reasons, because at this particular point, like, why does he have two different outfits? When they fight Frieza, he's wearing the Saiyan armor, just like he is in the Super Rare. So why the hell did we change him back to Piccolo's garb? I'll never understand it, but just the lack of attention to detail on stuff like that just really annoys me, because to me it makes me feel like they're not paying attention, kind of like they just don't care as much as, us fans do. But enough about Gohan's wardrobe. We also have Fledgling Duo Son Gohan, Fledgling Duo Krillin, and Persistent Assault Krillin. So let's look at the Gohan first. He's a 2-cost with Barrier, and his permanent says reducing energy cost of Krillin cards in your hand by 1. So you play him on turn 2, then turn 3 you can play your Krillins for 3 energy if you really wanted to. I'm not really sure that's the best idea. Now when you play Fledgling Duo Krillin, he comes into play, you choose a battle card and you KO it, and then he's a 15k blocker. So like, it gives you the option of having some board removal. Then the Persistent Assault Krillin is basically an upgraded, a kind of sorta upgraded version of the Deadly Defenders. While he's only 15k just flat out, when you play him you get to draw a card. And then he has the same ability as the Deadly Defenders, you just don't decrease the power by 5,000 because it's a static 5,000. I don't really know that I'd say I like that one better. I feel like the Duo one, just because it can come in and just wreck some stuff, might slightly be better. But either way, I like playing both of them with what was my favorite green extra card, King Vegeta's Surprise Attack. Not really so much of a surprise now since they changed the ruling on it. I won't say they changed the wording because the wording stayed the same, but they kind of changed the way the card was. I don't know. It's whatever. I don't particularly care, but that's how it is, so that's kind of what we're just going to go with. Then we've got one of my favorite Goku arts. It's Final Showdown Son Goku. Now, with this one, I actually like the Super Rare better than the SPR. Like, the SPR looks kind of nice, but I don't know, there's just something about the design of the Super Rare, the way he's fighting the Energy Blast, just the way just everything about it screams out, to that first time I watched Goku go Super Saiyan against Frieza. I'm not really quite sure what it is, but I just prefer the Super Rare. This Goku is a really unique card. He comes out with Double Strike, but when a Krillin card with energy cost of 4 or more in the battle area is KO'd, and if your opponent is green or black, you have to play this card from your hand, and you can't play him for the duration of the turn. So, really cool that the leader doesn't have to be so specific, but at the same time, it feels like, well, why does the others, like Bardock, have to be that specific? Why can't I play Bardock with freaking Shenron and do a Wish Bardock deck? Because that would be fun. And then when he comes into play from your hand, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and KO it. So you can KO any card that they have, ignore that barrier, and blow it the hell up. Green, this time around, actually got some good generic support. We got the Preemptive Strike, we got the Strategic Vegeta, and then we got the Hyperspeed Goku. So let's talk about the Preemptive Strike first. It's a counterplay that says if your leader is green and the battle card your opponent is playing has an energy cost of 4 or less, place it in its owner's drop area instead of it being played. That is a major, major ability that at the time was exclusive to green because of this card. Of course, now with set 7, we've got more counterattacks, and we've got the other colors representation of this card, but still a freaking fantastic card nonetheless. And then we got the Tactical Vegeta over on the right. Basically comes into play and wipes out a field card. Not super great, definitely situational, but definitely okay because of all the other decks that run field cards right now. Of course, if you see someone running apes or running yellow, they might even be playing with playing with the Planet Vegeta extra card. Then, of course, there's the Broly decks, and now there's the Toki Toki City, and there's options. Ooh, this card would completely screw over my Goku Black stuff, but it's a nice card. It's a great side deck card to get around field cards. You could also do the Piccolo Jr. from the World Martial Arts Tournament's Power Booster, but this is much easier to get a hold of, a hell of a lot cheaper, and just overall easier to use. The Goku, on the other hand, is a really unique ability. It lets you choose up to 2 cards from your life, add them to your hand, and if you did choose at least one, he gets plus 15,000 in critical, so he's a 30,000 crit for 3 energy, helps you awaken if you're not already there, gets you an extra card to combo with if you need it. Overall, just not a terrible card at all if you are needing green support, or if you're wanting extra awakening, or even just crit damage. I personally feel all of these cards are pretty good cards in their own right. Great support for green, and definitely worth side decking if you're playing the Vegeta. Green also got a new wish card with Plea for Salvation. Its activate main says if your leader is a Shenron card, you can choose a green battle card in your drop area with an energy cost less than or equal to your current energy, play it, and then choose and KO one of your opponent's battle cards 2 or less. Kind of the same as World Peace, except you get that extra little damage in. But otherwise, I'm not really sure what the point of this was. It's thematic. It goes with the set, the whole theme about Frieza Saga, but what really does this card accomplish that World Peace can't do for you? Then for yellow, we had new Namekian support. I was happy to get new Namekian support, but unfortunately, I really didn't get a lot of time to play around with this. I did want to do like some green Namekian stuff, because there's some cool cards that we got in this set. There's still some cool cards that we got with the original Namekian stuff back in set 4. So I kind of wanted to do like a hybrid with it, and I probably still will get around to that, even though set 7 has already come out. I'll probably go through my stuff, see what I've got extra, and be like, huh, I can do something with this. But really cool theme. Yellow kind of did well for a little while with the Yellow Wish stuff. The Piccolo was certainly an interesting mechanic, and it was just awesome to see more nail support too. This was the only Wish leader that we got in the entire set, is Dende switching over to Piccolo. Now, the leader on the Awakened side, on the front side rather, really acts a lot like the old starter deck Shenron leader. Now, it can't attack, and you rest it to search 2 Dragon Balls from your drop. Only difference is this has to activate Burst to be able to do that. Not that your opponents are really going to object to it. I still personally just don't like Burst at all, because I don't like having to lose my cards, but not a bad leader. On the Awakened side, same effects as every other leader, but when you remove the 7 Dragon Balls, you got to choose all of your yellow Namekian leaders and yellow battle cards, and got plus 10,000 power for the duration of the turn. Not a bad ability, since it blankets all of your yellow Namekians. Unfortunately, it doesn't trigger the green ones, which would be way too nice to be able to give all those crit Namekians that extra 10,000 power, but it's a cool leader, good ability. I think definitely one of the more solid Wish leaders that we've gotten. Then we got some good Namekian support. We got a few Nail cards. We got a few Piccolo cards. The one-drop Nail is really cool. At the end of a battle in which you combo with him, if you lose Namekian, you can play it in rest mode. You just had to burst 2 energy for that, so that one's not bad at all. Activate main says you can choose one of the Namekian card in your battle area, place this card under it, and give it 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. So it allows you to start that stacking early. And then we get the 2-drop Piccolo that says, when you play this card, draw a card, and if there's a Namekian in your battle area, and up to 1 Namekian in your drop area, place those cards from the drop area under the chosen battle card. So, kind of helps you to get cards underneath Piccolo for his abilities, or if you were running some weird Namekian Buu deck, then there you go, there's a way to get cards underneath the Majin Buu. Then we have Life or Death Nail. He was one of the rares in the set. He's got Evolve for 2 energy on top of a nail. His permanent says if there are 2 or more Namekians in play, this card gains Barrier and Double Strike. And his Sparking 5 says, when you play this card, you may choose 1 card from your life, add it to your hand. If you do, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with Barrier, and ignore it and KO the shit out of them. So, if your opponent was planning on playing Hiding, or just trying to protect some of their cards, this nail is not going to allow that to happen. Then we've got the other 4-drop Piccolo as well. Heroic, or Piccolo Potential Unleashed. I cannot read today, apparently. It says, choose a nail card in your battle area, place it under this card. If your leader is Shenron, and your opponent has 3 or more cards in rest mode, you can choose a yellow Namekian with energy cost of 4 from your deck, or drop, and play it on top of this card in active mode. So right there, that's an easier way to get out your boss Piccolo cards. Unfortunately, again, they have to be yellow. If they hadn't, made that restriction, then we could get around some cheeky stuff between some green Piccolo stuff from the older sets, from set 4, the new Piccolos from set 7, but alas, Bandai had to be Bandai and limit the fun that we were allowed to have. Then we had our super optimistic I Can Win Piccolo, and this card was really just, I liked it. The art on it and the ability was really nice. So he came with Double Strike, and once per turn you got to choose one of his abilities. If he gained 3,000 power for the duration of the turn for each Namekian. Underneath this card, if there are 3 or more, he gained Barrier until the end of your opponent's turn, and then you get to choose one of your opponent's energy, switch it to rest mode, and couldn't be switched to active mode until your opponent's next turn, till the end of your opponent's next turn. So you could kind of try and energy lock your opponent, which was really cool. It gave a new playstyle to Namekians instead of just the odd weenie rush strategy that the green Namekians gave us, where there wasn't really a playstyle, there wasn't really a boss Namekian to go to, whereas with this set, you at least had the Piccolo to go into, and that was about as much of a boss card as you were going to get. Then for our support for yellow, we got Solar Flare, which was an interesting negate card. I think I would still play Time Magic over this one, although, to be realistic, I would be playing Crusher Ball, or probably playing Nimbus instead, but I don't know, this one to me, it kind of feels like it's lacking. So you get to negate the attack, and if your leader's yellow, you get to choose one of your yellow battle cards, and it gain blocker for the duration of the turn. But it's not a super big deal. Whereas Time Magic, you can play it for no energy, and you could still negate the attack, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, switch to rest mode, which would defeat the purpose of needing blocker and sacrificing one of your cards. Then we got Twin Revival, which was our wish card for yellow, that lets you choose 2 yellow Namekians with energy cost 2 or less in your drop area and play them. So being able to revive your battle cards every turn was super great. Again, the yellow Namekians on their own didn't really do anything. They just kind of set up the stage for the 4-drop Piccolo. Then we got Assimilate, which is basically the Namekian version of Successor of Hope for the Goku's Lineage archetype. It lets you choose up to a green or yellow Namekian with energy cost 2 or less from your deck and add it to your hand. So it gave you the option of yellow or green, which was pretty cool. It did not give you the same amount of freedom as Successor of Hope, as they had to be 2-drop or less. Successor of Hope didn't care as long as it was less than 5, but it did have to have swap. So still, really cool cards that supported Namekians. I just still wish there was a better way to make Namekian deck work in general. Similar to the World Martial Arts Tournament, we didn't really get much in black support this time around, although we did get a new Dragon Wish leader. We got Purunga, my favorite of the dragons. I always liked Purunga better. I'm not really sure what it is, just the fact that he seemed like he was more chill. I liked the OK and stuff like that in the anime, and I liked his design better. It was just a really cool design, and he was the OG Namekian dragon Well, you know, before GT decided to retcon that with the Red Dragon, and before Super decided to retcon that with the Super Shenron, and blah blah. But anyway, so he works similar to the normal Shenron leader. He can't attack. You switch him to rest mode, search out 2 Dragon Balls, and then his wish ability, instead of being able to give a card triple attack or any kind of boost, you actually choose a battle card with an energy cost less than or equal to your current energy from your drop, and then play it. I don't know what the point of that is. I feel like that was the laziest fucking thing they could have possibly done, and here's why. I'm not trying to shit on Purunga. Again, I was super excited to get this leader. I was super excited to get a foil of this leader. But what's the point? His wish ability is literally the exact same as if you were to just use the second ability to play a wish card for free, and that wish card was World Peace. What is the point in this? I do not understand what the leader is supposed to accomplish. Like, sure, you get to play an extra card instead of, you know, giving one of your cards triple attack, but you could already do the same kind of effect. So, I don't see what the added benefit is of playing the Purunga leader, aside from the fact that he's just the better looking of the dragons. We did, however, get 2 unique Purunga cards. We got a super rare who also got a dope SPR with the OK, and we got a new wish card for Purunga as well. So the desire card says, if your leader is a black Shenron, choose one of you and your opponent's battle cards with equal energy, ignoring barrier. Then choose every other battle card both players control, ignoring barrier, and shuffle them into their owner's decks. And then both players draw 5 cards. This is a really wildish and kind of outlandish ability, because it's situational, because both players have to have a battle card. Both players have to have a battle card of the same amount of energy. And then what are you getting out of it? Like, you both get to draw 5 cards, that's cool and dandy, but unless you're clearing the board of their stuff, if you got board presence, there's no need to play this, unless they have something that you physically just cannot get rid of. It's a cool card, I like it, but I feel like it's really situational on whether or not it's worth playing and wiping out your own cards as well. Then we have Newfound Power Purunga, which is our Purunga battle card. He also can't attack, similar to the Shenron cards, but you get to switch this card to rest mode. If your leader is a black Shenron, you get to choose one of the abilities. You get to draw 2 cards, choose one of your battle cards, and it gets plus 10,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. Or you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and then one of your cards, and ignoring barrier, and shuffle them into the deck. They're kind of cool. Purunga pretty much just wipes everything back, kind of tries to wipe the board state to how it initially was. I never really found a way to make it work, but I'll be honest, I didn't try hard enough to make it work. I did pull the SPR Purunga, and I was pretty happy with that, but I just haven't taken the time to try and find a deck that he works in when there's so many other fun decks that I want to build. This set also gave us a really unique secret rare that I actually enjoyed playing. At first I didn't care for it at all. I was like, oh, it's Frieza, I don't give a shit. But actually playing around with it, it's good. It's a really good card, and even though it is Frieza, it is completely generic as shit. You can play it in any deck of its color. It's not even like it has to fit the strategy, fit the archetype. It's such a power card. And anytime that I have dropped it, I have won every single game with it. It's a really good card. It's a really playable secret rare, which is what we need. Unfortunately, a lot of the secret rares didn't get to see as much play as I would have liked, like the Super Saiyan Blue Vegito secret rare from Union Force, or the Super Saiyan 4 from Crossworlds. This leader can actually be played doesn't have any ridiculous requirements to get out, and is just all around a decent card. One thing to note about this card, though, is it is Frieza BR and not actual Frieza. Now, I kind of thought at first, I was like, really? The Secret Rare is not going to revolve around the set itself, which is all about the Frieza saga? We're going to make it about the Broly movie? Like, I mean, I understand that that's what the feature rares were, but I don't know. I felt like it was really just pandering to the Broly and GT stuff, and they were just trying to get all of your focus on that movie, on that stuff, and that's part of the reason why I don't care for any of the Broly BR stuff or the Gogeta BR stuff. It's just because, like, I already didn't care for the characters to begin with, but then you're shoving them down our faces. Same thing with Frieza. But this Frieza card is fantastic. He's got Quad Strike, which not many cards have Quad Strike in this game. When your life is 2 or less, you reduce the energy cost in your hand by 3. Now, because he has a specified energy of 5 red, you have to play him in basically a mono red deck, or you have to play him with 5 red. I guess you could play him using the new green red stuff, but you'd have to have 5 red energy regardless. When you play him, your opponent reveals their hand, you choose a card from your opponent's hand, place it in the drop area, then you choose all battle cards with 40,000 power or less that they have, ignoring barrier, and KO them. So you're going to murder their entire field, unless their field is Goku Black or Zamasu. You're also going to get to look at your opponent's hand, you can see what they have to stop you, and take it away. Super combo, gone. A negate, gone. Quad Strike 40,000 is insane. And I've won, I'm telling you, every time I have played this card, I have won the game with it. Because how can you not? Once you drop him, like, there's no excuse. You drop him, you attack, you dump your entire hand to combo and just completely murder your opponent. That would make Frieza happy. This set also introduced a new type of rarity called Campaign Rares, later changed to Feature Rares for this particular set. And we got some decent cards out of this. I'd say 3 out of the 4 were great cards, very easily playable. And then you had one that was, well, let's just face it, I don't think anybody ever found a use for him, or even tried to find a use for this card. Gakona was easily the worst of the feature rares, and I don't even know what the point was to even playing this card. So, for 3 energy, he's a 15k, which is average at best. And when you play him, you choose either your opponent's leader, and it gets a minus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn, and then you can't play another one for the turn. Wow. Like, that's it for 3 energy? Oh boy, that's such a good card. Why didn't I think of making it? Because it's fucking trash. Like, this was such a shitty card. To be one of these new special rarities, when the other 3 had ridiculously good effects and were actually playable cards. Just get this trash out of my face. Then we got Chilai the Beautiful. This was one of my favorite cards when it first came out, just because I immediately thought of androids, I thought of hand control, Cell, and every time you KO'd a battle card once per turn, your opponent had to choose a card in their hand and discard it. And that, since it was just once per turn, it could also be on your opponent's turn as well. So if they did something to KO to their battle card, or you did, your revenge, or whatever, then they're going to discard another card. And this card was actually worth a little bit once it first came out. I'm not really sure what it's worth now, but it is a fantastic card and definitely worthy of being one of those new rarity. Then we got the Son Goku, striving to be the best. This was actually a really fantastic card. The only thing that could have made this card better is if it was regular Son Goku and not BR, and it would be completely abusable in Vegito, and I think that's completely fair. He's got Barrier, and his permanent says your opponent's battle cards, the energy cost of 2 or less, can't attack. He was basically the killer for the blue-yellow swap deck, and having Barrier to protect him pretty much locked your opponent out of getting to attack with anything lower than a 3-drop, and for decks like that, there was no 3-drop. There was nothing else to really attack with. This was an excellent card, and it's still a good card to run in main decks for blue, or even in the side deck if you know that your opponent's going to go for like that early aggro, or they've got, you know, those those 1 and 2 drops that they want to attack with, whether to get that crit damage or just get that extra draw or card from hand or anything like that. This was just an overall solid card for any main deck or any side deck. Then lastly, we had Vegeta striving to be the best. Obviously, there can only be one best, and, I mean, come on. We all know it's not Vegeta. Sorry, Vegeta fans. But the auto says when you play this card, you got to choose one of your opponent's battle cards with barrier in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and KO it. And if you did, you get to choose one of your energy, switch to active mode. Now, what's cool about this card is not only did it allow you to KO a battle card that had barrier, it allowed you to KO any battle card with barrier. It wasn't like the other cards that had an energy restriction saying, oh, it had to be 2 or less. Nope, it just had to have barrier and be in rest mode. This card right here kills every Deadly Defender. He does not care. Deadly Defender, you ain't defending against this Vegeta. Awesome, awesome card. Especially to just side deck in yellow decks. But if it was Vegeta and not Vegeta BR, it would be absolutely amazing. I feel like because Bandai did some of the things they did, giving us cards that were really good, like this Vegeta, like the Goku, and making them Vegeta and Goku BR instead of the regular Goku and Vegeta, they were intentionally taking away the chance for Vegito to be good and be playable while they were coming out with all this Brawly Gogeta support. Then, as if there wasn't enough Broly BR Dragon Ball Super support, we got the Broly promo packs. The first one had the 2 leaders, this one being the Gogeta leader, the Unstoppable. The art on the card is freaking solid, and the foiling is not bad either. It doesn't have like the Pokemon Shatter foil effect that the rares and stuff we've been getting have. His once per turn says, look at the 5 cards from top of your deck, choose up to 1 red Goku BR, Vegeta BR, or blue Veku BR and add it to your hand. So you get to choose one of the 3, so it left your options open. And then on the other side, for 2 energy, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, place it at the bottom of the deck. And once per turn, you can choose one of your energy and place it in the drop area and draw 2 cards. I don't really know why you would want to do that part, although there are some cheeky ways to kind of get around allowing your opponent to get to a high enough energy, or this would be a decent counter to like Zamasu decks. You could, get rid of one of your energy. And actually, I have a really interesting deck idea I want to try out for this leader, if I can get a hold of one. I don't have this leader. Unfortunately, the Broly packs did not come around our area, and so we missed out on that. I did recently get the Broly leader through a trade with a friend of mine, but I want to remember to build this deck, and I want to remember I have another deck that I wanted to build as well. However, the Gogeta leader barely saw any play because Broly the Awakened Threat was an absolute monster of a card. Why did they make this card yellow? Maybe Frieza's army, I guess I can kind of see, but why make him yellow? The Broly BR support was green. This card is just ridiculous. When he attacked, you got to choose a card from your life, add it to your hand, and draw 1 card. So right there, you were getting 2 cards. 2 cards added to your hand. So that's a +2 advantage every time you attacked. Then his Awakened side wasn't any worse. It was just ridiculously better. Once per turn, you got to choose one of your opponent's battle cards and put it in rest mode. Bam, I'm going to murder it. Then you also got to choose a card in your life and add it to your hand, and you can choose one of your one of your cards in rest mode and switch to active mode. That itself is even wilder. Now, what is crazy is this says choose up to 1 of your cards in rest mode. It doesn't say battle cards. So you could switch a battle card to active mode. You could switch an energy to active mode. It's just, this leader was ridiculous. Making him yellow was so stupid. Giving this leader the ability to play Shugesh when he can awaken himself was asinine as shit. Especially because if you really wanted to, you were going to awaken by turn 2. You could play the 1-drops, the gain crit, the take a life, and with the leader's ability, attack with that. Attack with the 1-drop krill and it gets crit. And then do it again. And then bam! You're awakened. Turn 2. you can Shugesh. Start doing stupid shit. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, and there's a reason that this leader was played out ridiculously. Not that he's not a good leader. Like, I have shit that I want to use this leader for now. But, damn, like, he was so overly played. It was a reason to run Cronoa again. A lot of people had dropped Cronoa out of their side decks or main decks. But then with this Broly coming in, you pretty much had to have it because it was guaranteed that they were going to have at least 1 or 2 Shugesh. I never really liked the idea of splitting it up and going like 2 Shugesh and 2 insert other super combos. I don't know, for me, for that, it was either all or nothing. But this leader was ridiculously powerful and stayed good for the meta for a little while. I think he could still be a good leader. Even without Shugesh, he's still a good leader. Yellow's still got plenty of good support. He still freezes army, so you can still play a Cold Bloodlust if you wanted to. Just an absolute awesome card. And honestly, these 2 leaders had amazing art on them as well. Overall, this set was a lot of fun. I liked a lot of the stuff that was in this set, especially the Blue Bardock Crew stuff. I didn't appreciate the Frieza stuff until I'd actually played around with it. Initially, I didn't care, because I was all about trying to get Bardock's crew to work. But then when I built the Frieza deck, I realized what it was capable of, and then now I have the Frieza deck that I have, the current rendition of it, and it's a fun, really good deck with a really good strategy to it. You just don't run either of the red Frieza leaders with it because that's stupid. But let me know what you guys thought of this set. Let me know which archetypes you found successful or that you thought had any real impact on the game state. Again, I think all of it was decent in a way. I think yellow and green kind of got the short end of the stick here. Bardock's crew just needed like 1 or 2 things, and it could have been so much more powerful than it is. And I still feel like it can be. I'm gonna find a way. I've been working on some builds with it to really draw out the full potential of that deck, and hopefully I have found a good recipe for it. Again, Frieza, that stuff's already amazing. I like the deck I've got with the Frieza stuff, so that's gonna stay as is. Namekians, I'll get around to at some point. The green stuff, it's just, I don't know. I do have a good build I want to try with the green stuff, but it's not really anything like you would expect. Hopefully I'll get around to making a deck profile. I'll build the deck, I'll play test it, see how well it works, and do a deck profile for you guys soon. On the note of deck profiles, I know they've been scarce. I made a post on the channel about it as well, and I apologize for that. Real life has been just kicking our ass lately. Being an adult sucks. I'm just ready to get back to all my trading cards and doing videos for you guys because I absolutely love them. I know a lot of you guys do too. With that though, we're going to go ahead and get the frig out of here, and we will see you guys in the next episode.